All right, ready to start this shenanigan?
This is difficult to pick this week.
So that's a no.
No.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dominic Damore, and thank you for tuning in to the second best thing you'll hear all week. We have a great show for you this evening, and that includes the top-notch film reviews, the latest movie news, and assorted thoughts and opinions ranging from insightful to downright obnoxious. This is the I've Had Better Movies podcast. Let's kick it off. James, what do we have for the fans this week?
Hey everyone, my name is James Langos and welcome to the show. Each week, Dom and I will give you, the fans, a review of the film currently in theaters, or in the rare occurrence we can't afford to go to the movies that week, we will dig deep into our film libraries to break down an old great or just a random piece of garbage. This week's review is Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Yeah, this is going to be a lengthy one, people. So if you haven't seen the movie, you might just want to wait until next week just to even listen to this podcast, because we're going to talk about this for a while. And if you haven't seen it, what's wrong with you? Come on. It's Batman vs. Superman. Even if the movie didn't get great reviews, it's an event film. You still should have went out and seen it. My personal opinion.
All right, let's start off with, it's PG-13.
Yes.
Could have possibly been R, but they chose not to.
Yep. As we've talked about in the past, the director's cut / DVD version is going to be rated R.
151 minutes.
Yep, just over 2.5 hours.
Felt a little long.
It did.
Lost my interest at points.
It did, but at the same time, didn't you feel like some points needed more?
Yes.
Yeah.
They did something wrong here. I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right, let's do this one a little bit differently. Let's start off with the positives. What did you like about the movie?
I enjoyed Batman. Parts of Batman. And Ben Affleck playing Batman. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm in the minority, but I thought he did pretty well.
No, the consensus for the film is everybody loved Batman, everybody loved Wonder Woman.
I agree. Wonder Woman was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Superman was okay. I don't know. I mean, he didn't really do anything that crazy.
Yeah, they felt like they just didn't give him enough.
Yeah.
And the storyline they gave him was not exactly thought out, and it was a bit confusing. But
I agree.
Yeah. Batman, I have issues with. Loved Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
I thought it was the best Bruce Wayne we've ever had in a movie. He was dashing. He was cocky. He was confident. He was throwing around money, where he at one point he says a line to Clark Kent, Superman, like when he's talking about the papers, like, oh, do I own this one or is that another one? Like, that's perfect Bruce Wayne, to where it's that level. It's where he's putting on that persona of the billionaire playboy to throw people off his scent. And at the same time, he showed the weakened side of him, or the because
softer side.
I won't say softer. I mean damaged part, where one of the 4 nightmare sequences, he wakes up in bed next to some beautiful girl who they don't even bother to show her face. Save a few dollars on the budget. Like, oh, hey, if we just show her shoulder, it doesn't count. And then you see like alcohol bottles strewn across the room, and first thing he does, he sips the last bit of wine, and Alfred makes a joke about future Wayne's not inheriting a wine cellar.
Yeah,
so
he's clearly distressed.
Yeah.
and not happy.
Yeah, so that part I definitely liked. Other things that I liked. Coolest Batmobile, in my opinion, we've ever had. The Nolan trilogy obviously went function over fashion, even though the Tumbler was cool.
I mean, it's basically a tank.
Yeah. This one felt like a tank over an Indy car, and probably not super practical.
It felt more like a Batmobile.
Yeah, but I thought it was awesome. Some of the stuff it did, it was really cool. Greatest Batcave we've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. The house was amazing.
Yeah, super cool. I loved Alfred.
Alfred was good.
We didn't get enough of him. He needed to be in more of that movie. And again, it's one of those issues you come up with because you have to jam-pack so much into this movie.
Yeah. I mean, whose part do you take away other than Lex Luthor?
Yeah. Obviously, you take away from Lex Luthor.
We haven't got to the bed yet. I'm sorry. I rushed.
Wonder Woman I liked. She did have some moments where I felt her dialogue was a little stiff, but she had some really great moments. During the climactic fight, she gets punched and thrown like 100 yards away, and she does this little smirk thing. I read online that Gal Gadot actually came up with that idea. So say what you want, maybe she's not a horrible actress, but she does this little smirk on her face where it's like, yes, she's Wonder Woman, she's an Amazonian, she loves to fight. Of course she's gonna get the shit kicked out of her, go flying 100 yards, and get up smiling because it's like finally a challenge. So that was super cool. Mm-hmm. Do you have any other positives you want to talk about?
I did like how they introduced some of the other new movies that they're coming out with.
Yeah,
they introduced the characters.
I thought
it was an interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, I was definitely interesting. I heard online, and some of the people I listened to made a good point where he didn't like that Lex Luthor is the one who figured that all out. He would have preferred it to be Batman who has this file. Again, we talked about it off air, and we'll get into this in the negatives, but it felt like they made Batman like he was awesome and stuff like that. And
he was a badass.
Yeah, he's a genius, and he figures out things that others can't. But then there's other elements where it's like, yeah, shouldn't he figure that out? Like,
yeah, if he's this, smart person, great mind, he should have figured out some of these things that just seem too obvious.
Yeah, like we'll go into the bads, and if we have positives later on. One of my bads was, again, Lex Luthor figures out who Batman is and who Superman is, and doesn't appear that eventually Superman figures out that Bruce Wayne is Batman and even calls him Bruce at one point. But it never appears that Batman figures out that Superman is Clark Kent until the end.
Yes.
I thought that was dumb.
Took way too long.
Yeah. It should have been one of those things where instead of having Batman so focused on killing or defeating Superman, like, if you're going to defeat Superman, when's the best place to do it? I don't know. Maybe in the middle of the Daily Planet when he can't fight back without revealing his secret.
Yeah.
So that was an issue for me. How about you? Name some of your bads.
Amy Adams. She's better than that.
Yeah.
She just mailed in her performance. I don't think she cares about this at all. I honestly don't think she's right for the role.
I can see that, yeah.
But she just did nothing for me.
Mm-hmm.
The way Lex Luthor got Batman and Superman to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid. Come on, Zack Snyder. You're better than that. At least I hope you are.
Yeah, it did feel... I don't mind the fact that it was Lex who got them to fight. I mind that they give no explanation as to why. Like, they allude to the next film, which for those of you who aren't comic book fans or aren't wondering, like, what the hell was Lex talking about the entire time, the big bad of the DC universe is a man called, well, he's a god, actually, called Darkseid, who lives on this planet called Apocalypse, which is a world filled with what in DC is called the New Gods. And basically, he's stronger than Superman. He can shoot it's called the Omega Beam out of his eyes, which essentially erases you from existence. He has the ability to... He has the anti-life equation, which is essentially... he gets everybody to follow him. And the parademons, which were those winged creatures you see in one of the nightmare/dream sequences for Batman, those are his minions. He captures people, or it doesn't have to be people, it could be aliens from other planets, takes them back to his homeworld, and then turns them into those soldiers. So the entire time, Lex Luthor is essentially saying, Darkseid's coming, he wants Superman out of the way, that's what I'm doing, but they never explain it. As a comic book fan, I know that's what they're doing. But they didn't do a good enough job of explaining that.
Yeah, I think they kind of directed the movie too much toward comic book fans. Because I don't read comic books, and I just enjoy the movies for what they are. I was a little confused on some of them. During some of the Batman dreams, I really had no idea what was going on. Mm-hmm. And it just didn't work for me in that sense.
Yeah, and to further that point, as we talked about earlier with the rated R cut being 3 hours. Zack Snyder, and they actually, in an unprecedented move, probably because of the giant backlash they're getting, DC, have you seen this online? It just dropped yesterday, I think. They put out one of the deleted scenes for Lex Luthor.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's called Communion, and I assume because it's only a short clip, like 30 seconds maybe, where it's a dream sequence for Lex Luthor actually, and it gives a little bit more explanation of why he's acting so crazy, like because Darkseid's in his head, basically.
It'd have to be.
Yeah, so I think once the 3-hour cut comes out, I will probably like this movie more. But the 2.5 hour cut was rough. Like,
why not? I don't understand that. Why not just make a 3-hour movie and be done with it?
Because you got to make that money back. You not only does adding a half hour probably removes at least 2 showings from every theater. So
how long was Wolf of Wall Street?
3 hours.
I think it's worth it.
Yeah, but Wolf of Wall Street didn't cost $250 million to make.
No, it didn't cost that much. I agree. But, I mean, what was the revenue? It was 2.5, right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. I just feel like they should have just done it. They should have did the 3 hours, and then you wouldn't need to release a YouTube video of a deleted scene.
And that's a valid argument, but I disagree. You can't because even if you release the 3-hour version, you're still probably going to get a decent amount of this hate, because that half an hour, you're not going to answer everything you want answered. And you're going to make less money. And some people will not go and sit through a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
So there's definitely issue. My biggest thing, and I have seen the movie twice now. My first run through, I gave it a 6.5. For the record, that number has gone up. Later on, when Jim and I get to our actual ratings, I'll give you my new number, but second viewings definitely are going to help this movie, and I think every additional viewing, you'll probably think, okay, now I understand a little more, now I get it. It's not a bad movie. Like, we can both agree on that, right? Like, It is not a bad movie. It's a disappointing movie in a lot of ways.
I think that's just because it was built up to be something better.
Yeah, and I mean, you expect more because it's arguably the two biggest superheroes in the world.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, say what you want about all the Marvel heroes, everybody knows Batman and Superman. Yeah. So, my biggest issue with this film, aside from, or the thing I guess that hurts me the most as a comic book fan, is Batman killing. It bothers me so much. And there are moments in this film where literally I'm like, okay, this isn't bad. This is like a 7.5. And then Batman does something like that. And this is one of the areas where I get very mad at Chris Terrio, who is the writer for this film, along with David S. Goyer, but rumors are that Terrio came in and used Goyer's script and then kind of made like this what we saw, and Zack Snyder. Snyder did press either last week or sometime because he knew that the Batman killing was going to be an issue. And he references how there's a YouTube video and he's like, he's a big comic book fan and Batman does kill. And he has in the comic books, like when he first started out, Batman used a gun and all that back in the 1930s and stuff like that. But the comic book Batman that everybody knows is not a killer. Has he killed at times? It's happened, usually by mistake. And in this video or interview with Snyder, he references a YouTube video where it actually goes through and shows all of the kills for Batman in the movie universe. And it's something like 42 people Batman kills, not including Batman vs. Superman. So I went and watched this video, and it got me even more mad because 85% of the kills take place in Batman from 1989, Batman Returns, and a little bit from the Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. Those are not real Batman movies. They are cinema films or blockbuster films that the studios made.
Just using characters from the comics.
Exactly. They don't care about canon. Like, when canon, for those of you who are unaware, is what's been built in the comics and is what's followed and what is the basis of this character. Like, if you go back and read a comic, or even it happens in movies too, like it happens in Star Wars, things are considered canon, where it's like you can't contradict this. This absolutely happened, and it creates more of a timeline. So the argument that Snyder made for this movie, like, oh, Batman actually does kill, and he's just, in the movie he doesn't actually kill anybody, he just doesn't save them from being killed. But he doesn't really even save anybody. Like, the guy drops a grenade and Batman doesn't do anything to save him from it. He literally, that was his plan. He tows a car behind him with bodies inside. It's like, oh, Batman doesn't really kill him. Really? Batman didn't kill those people? Or he blows up a car because he was being shot at. That was my biggest issue with the film, because I am such a Batman fan. So, what are your opinions on it?
I'm not so much mad with him killing, because I get kind of this Punisher feel, because I just watched Daredevil, of course.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people are saying they wish Batman vs. Superman would have been more like that, where each person has this philosophical difference.
Yeah.
And they're not, and that's what they're ultimately fighting over, as opposed to Batman vs. Superman, where you don't really, you kind of understand why Batman is fighting, and Superman is fighting to save his mom.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean, you get, I would have preferred that. That would have been better. But in this movie, you do understand why Batman doesn't like Superman, because he's brought all this evil to Earth, and he's just, all these people were harmed when he first came, and Superman was trying to defend from
Zod and the other Kryptonians.
I don't know if just Batman didn't see that or thought it was Superman's fault. Is that what they were trying to show?
Essentially, because the theories that I've heard, granted, these are all theories, these are fan interpretations. It's that in that opening scene when you see Bruce Wayne driving through the city, trying to get to his building to save his people, and then ultimately that little girl's about to get crushed, he saves her, and he's still Bruce Wayne, and he's like, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna find your mom. And then she points up, where's your mom? And she points up to the crashed building, and
building that's falling down.
He has, you can see his face change, and I'm hearing some fan theory is that that's the moment where he decides this isn't normal anymore. I have to become something else. I have to become the killer and stuff like that. And this guy needs to be brought down because of how many innocent people he hurt. So
I get it.
It makes sense in a way. It just should have been fleshed out better. And the dialogue in this movie was awful. There was a lot of lines where it's really? That's the one you want to go with right there? Yeah. Batman's not so much. His dialogue isn't too cheesy. Superman's cheesy as hell.
Superman, Amy Adams.
Yeah.
Not good.
No one stays good in this world, Lois.
How about Martha?
Oh, God. It was... Yeah.
All right. In the movie, they have Lex Luthor tell Superman that they took his mom, and
Martha Kent,
and Superman has to go kill Batman because Lex Luthor will give Superman's mom his mom back, and then Batman and Superman are fighting, and Batman is ready to kill Superman because he's got the kryptonite sword. Sorry. And he's ready to kill him. And Superman utters Martha. And apparently that is Batman's mother's name.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Batman not kill Superman.
How little does that make sense, by the way? In that situation, are you ever going to be like, Nora, do you have to save Nora? I'm not going to be there and be like, Torian. They're going to be like, what? Dorian. Well, I don't know what that is. Is that just a word? Like, dead. Yeah. So, like, who does... That was my biggest argument about that fight.
I can imagine the writers sitting in a room and thinking, wait a minute, they got the same name.
It's clever.
Let's use this.
It is clever.
This is a great idea.
But it just makes no sense. Like, as soon as that fight went down, for the reasons that it went down, I immediately was sitting there. I was like, all right, so right now, Superman is hovering like 50 feet in the air above Batman. Why does he not just go, hey... My mom was kidnapped. I don't want to fight you. It's Lex Luthor. Instead, he has to drop down and play the pronoun games where it's like, we have to stop him. I don't want to do this to you. Like,
yeah, really stupid.
Yeah,
there's too many flaws in it. It could have been solved much easier and quicker.
Yeah. Or you should just abandon that there. You should have gave them a real reason to fight.
No, absolutely. I'm saying abandon that. That's where all the plot holes come in.
Yeah. My one last point I want to talk about, and then you can say whatever you want, and then maybe we'll give our ratings unless something else interesting pops up. You mentioned earlier Lois Lane, Amy Adams. Yeah. Saw the movie.
Terry Hatcher in there.
That's a good pull. That's a good pull, James. Lois and Clark, I like it. Saw it again yesterday. And this is why my biggest takeaway from yesterday was, oh my God, Lois Lane should not be here. Because she's given something to do at the end. Like, she has to go get the spear from the pool of water and blah, blah, blah. That should have been Batman. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no reason for her to be there. Superman literally leaves this fight in the middle. And I'm sure they were trying to show that, like, Superman will do anything for Lois. And that's why
that's absolutely what they were doing.
Yeah, but it's stupid.
For the third time.
Yeah, it's stupid. She shouldn't have been there. She could have been there, but she didn't have to have that point. They should have, because Batman doesn't do shit during that final fight. He is there for 1 second to shoot Doomsday with the kryptonite gas grenade. Like, that's the only thing he does for the final 20 minutes of that film. Mm-hmm. Why not take Amy Adams, Lois Lane out, and have Bruce Wayne be the one who has to go and actually get the spear? Or Batman in this situation. Like, you could have done something so much cooler instead of having this stupid moment.
I agree.
So,
I think that we are missing the biggest part of the ending.
Oh, yes. The death of Superman.
Yes, the death of Superman.
What do you think of it?
It doesn't really do anything for me. Because everyone knows he's not dead.
Yeah. I don't hate it because it's ballsy. It's one of those things where DC/Warner Brothers were just like, let's do it. Like,
yeah.
Balls to the wall.
I respect it.
Yeah. But at the same time, it has zero lasting effect because there's not a single person over the age of 8 in that theater. And if you were there under the age of 8, your parents are horrible people because this is not a movie for an 8-year-old.
That's why it's PG-13.
Yeah. Not a single person would believe that, like, oh, okay, so Superman's dead? I know for sure we got two, like, because everybody knows there's 2 more Justice League movies coming out. Mm-hmm. Everybody sees how much setup there is. Okay, I'm pretty sure Superman's dead. He's never coming back.
Yeah, it's just one of the other stupid things that they thought would be a good idea that worked.
Yeah. Wasn't great. Again, we say a lot of bad things. This wasn't a bad movie.
Yeah. Why don't you just give your rating? So,
all right. My newly updated rating has gone from a 6.5 initially, wait for it, to a 6.7.
Oh, dear God. It's still pretty darn low.
Yes. It's not great. I fully believe that when we get that 3-hour cut, this might go up to like a 7.5 for me. With a little bit extra.
I'm at 7.5.
Yeah, I think it will get there. But being the comic book fan that I am, and how little respect I have for all of the dialogue in this movie, like, there's a lot of bad stuff. Basically, if it doesn't come out of Batman's mouth, it's not good. Mm-hmm. In parts, a couple of things Wonder Woman says. But she's only got 6 lines. I'd say about 4 of them are good. 2 of them are like, oh, wow, they should have done another take on that one. So, you're still good. Mm-hmm. 6.7, I think, is a solid score. Again, it's not bad. It's certainly better than a lot of movies I've seen this year. But the disappointment makes it feel worse. So, how about you, Jim? How's your rating?
I'm gonna go give it a 7.5, because I don't know as much as you know about the comic book stuff. It is still an entertaining movie. The special effects are pretty good. And then I did like some of the non-main characters. I thought Lawrence Fishburne was pretty good.
Yeah, no, he was good.
I enjoyed him.
He brought some very necessary levity to the film.
Yeah,
it's very little, but if you didn't have him, there would be like 3 jokes in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, if you pull him out of the film, I mean, there's not much else to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like we said before, Jeremy Irons, who I think did a great job as Alfred.
Yeah, I thought he. I'm still going Michael Goff as the best Alfred, who is the Alfred that everybody thinks of from the original, from the middle movies
with Keaton, right?
Yes,
Keaton.
Keaton through Clooney. He was Alfred in all of those.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably more just like a childhood memory thing. Jeremy Irons' Alfred was badass though. Like,
yeah,
the way he talked, his quip. Although this movie basically turned him into a mechanic.
Yeah. Which I thought was an interesting thing to do.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I just wish they would have given him more to say or do. Like, because he does, like, he guides Bruce along the way. Like, he does have several moments where, like, you can tell that Bruce Wayne takes in what he says and, like, you know what, he's right.
Yeah.
I just thought they could have used a few more movies.
Yeah, I mean, he gave Alfred that wisdom that he still has, and Batman always listens to him,
mm-hmm.
which is important.
Yeah. I know I said one last thing earlier. This is my last thing.
That's
because I don't think we talked about it enough.
Just keep going.
Lex Luthor is awful. He is just bad. I appreciate what, like I said, they took a lot of risk in this movie. Luthor was one of them.
I think they cast the wrong person.
I agree.
Is the biggest problem, and then
he felt
some of this plot is messed up with him too.
He felt to me like Jesse Eisenberg was trying to do a impersonation of Jim Carrey as the Riddler in Batman Forever, doing an impersonation of the Joker from The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
I get that.
Over the top, big words, a bit sadistic. Like, go back and watch Batman Forever. There's a lot of those weird movements and big, like, outlandish, nonsensical stories and speaking about ancient gods like Zeus and things like that. And they all play back into it because of what Superman is, and they constantly are making this association between Superman and Jesus and God and things like that, and how he's not a man and things like that. So I thought it was bad. Like, it was, even the second time, I was better because I wasn't so offended by it because I was prepared for it, but it was still bad.
Next up, we've got 3 top news stories that we're going to talk about. Speaking of Batman, we now know Ben Affleck's next project. Live by Night is a story of a Boston petty thief who in the Prohibition era becomes one of the most famous rum runners in Gulf Coast history. Affleck is set to both act and direct the picture with a cast that includes Scott Eastwood, Zoe Saldana, Chris Cooper, Brendan Gleeson, and Titus Welliver. Dom, give us your thoughts on the film.
First off, I like the way you said Saldana.
It's the Hispanic in me.
I'm super excited for this film. Reminds me a lot of Lawless, the Tom Hardy, Shia LaBeouf film, which I enjoyed. I hope this one's a little better, and I think it's going to be a little better because
should be.
It doesn't have Shia LaBeouf, who is a great actor, but I just found him a little annoying, that film.
Well, he plays like a little brother.
He does.
And all little brothers are annoying.
That's a solid point.
We're both little brothers.
We are. But this cast is insane. I didn't write them in the read, but also Sienna Miller is attached to this film. Elle Fanning is attached to this film. So there's a lot of big name stars and a lot of great actors.
Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah, so I'm I'm really looking forward to it. This is my favorite era of film. I love the 1910s, 20s, and 30s the most.
I love the hairstyles.
And when
The clothes, the suits.
Men wore suits and hats. That's my favorite time period. So
They look good.
yeah. Plus, it's Ben Affleck.
And he's directing.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say.
Hopefully we get another Argo type movie. Because Argo was amazing.
Yeah. He was robbed of Best Director that year, clearly.
I agree.
Yeah, so just his ability to direct, like even from his first feature, like Gone Baby Gone, super underrated movie. Like I
Very
love
much.
that movie. Casey Affleck does a great job. Morgan Freeman does a great job. And the directing's really well.
And their Boston accents weren't completely terrible.
No, they were not. What are your thoughts on Live by Night?
I'm excited. Ben Affleck's definitely beginning to be a reason to go to the movies and see. And especially when he's directing. The cast is good too, and it's interesting how they're all going to put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
The story, I'm not. I think it'll be interesting. It just seems kind of generic right now.
Mm-hmm. I do wonder, like, what the shooting schedule is for this, because I know they start shooting Justice League in April, end of April. So you gotta figure Affleck's got a fairly sizable part in that. So you think they can squeeze this entire thing into a 2-month, 3-month? Is it probably like a 6 to 8 week shoot for this? I assume.
I don't know. I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah. So
I think if I remember correctly, they were in post production.
Oh, for Live by Night is it already?
You know, let me double check that. Yeah, they're in post production.
Oh wow.
So I think they already did shoot it.
Oh, news to me. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the Justice League Part 1 is in pre-production.
Yeah. Fans of the film Miracles from Heaven will be happy to know that the producers have found the leading man for their next project. Kevin James is set to star in the football drama 44, the story of a middle-aged man who, after returning to college to finish his degree, attempts to accomplish a lifelong goal by playing collegiate football at its highest level. The story has been likened to that of The Blind Side, which came out a few years ago starring Sandra Bullock. So, James, what are your thoughts on this film?
I think it's interesting because it is based on a true story.
Yes.
Okay.
Few people have done that. Like, it just happened 2 years ago. A guy who was in the military went back to Texas and was playing college football at like 38, 39. Mm-hmm. That's the only story I know of, but I know this is based off a true story.
And are they saying it's a drama?
I think it's a comedic drama.
Okay, it has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin James has the perfect body for it. But,
yeah.
As long as it's a comedic drama, I'm okay with it. If it's just a drama, I'd be a little worried. Because Kevin James needs that comedy in everything he does.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to see him do a...
It'd be nice to, but I don't think he can do it.
Yeah. I can't... I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm sorry. Did you say you were excited, or what were your thoughts on the film overall?
I didn't say either.
Okay,
I don't think.
Good. Because I can't sell this one hard enough. I think this is stupid.
Yeah. That's why I had to. I started off asking questions.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
Never a good sign.
It's just because it's essentially Here Comes the Boom with football.
Yeah.
And at least in Here Comes the Boom, like, Kevin James got in good fat guy shape for that. Like, I was impressed with it. Like, he was an inspiring story for me because it's like, oh wow, Kevin James can do that. I could totally get that fit. What position is he gonna play? Are they gonna pass him off as like a quarterback?
I hope he's like a wide receiver or something.
Like, because like if they make him a lineman, does anybody care?
He's gonna be a defensive end.
You think so?
Yeah, or a linebacker. But a quarterback, no way.
Yeah,
it's just not believable as a 44-year-old play quarterback.
But is any other position on the field even interesting? Like,
interesting? No.
Yeah, and that's my biggest problem. Like, in Here Comes the Boom, at least like you can see cool like choreographed fight for a comedy movie like that. In this, if they do make him, because they're not like the most interesting film linebacker to ever be on screen is Bobby Boucher, and that's because he's flying all over the field. it's a basically comic book movie set in a football game.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to have Kevin James do this in this film.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
So it's a consensus that we don't care for this movie.
Yeah, no,
at
it's
all?
going to suck. And in our final story of the day, we have some more casting news. As it appears, Sir Paul McCartney of the Beatles fame will have a small role in the upcoming Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales. In addition to the star-studded cast that already includes Johnny Depp, Jeffrey Rush, the returning Orlando Bloom, and a fresh-faced Javier Bardem, we can look forward to the 5th installment of this franchise. James, give us your thoughts on the film as a whole.
Wait a minute. Did you say 5th?
5th.
Good grief.
That's not even 5th. It's 5th.
Oh my goodness.
All
5?
consonants in that pronunciation.
Sadly, it is the only movie Johnny Depp can make money on now.
Yeah.
And he's to be making tons of money on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Personally. I'm not saying that it'll do well.
Yeah.
All the other ones have. But I think
there's
people getting
definitely
tired?
diminishing returns. The 4th one did not make as much as the previous 3. Yeah. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
The Paul McCartney thing, it's a gimmick from like.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they had Keith Richards in the 2nd and 3rd the 3rd and 4th one. Sorry, from the previous films, the guitarist from the Rolling Stones. He was fine. Adam McCartney, great. That's gonna be stupid. The rest of the cast, though, I'm intrigued by. You got Javier Bardem, amazing actor, and Orlando Bloom returning. I'm actually excited to see him come back because I like the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean.
He just wasn't in the 4th?
No, he left, and then he realized like, hey, nobody else wants to hire me to do any acting.
I can't do any Pirates of the Caribbean, and I can't do any Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
Exactly. So I'm excited to see him come back. I like the story. Sad Keira Knightley is not coming back. Yeah. It's a fairly negative show today. I mean, we got the Batman vs Superman negative talk. We got not selling on Kevin James' fat ass. We're selling on.
We like Ben Affleck.
We love Ben Affleck.
It's been very pro Ben Affleck.
Yeah. It's been a really pro Ben Affleck week. I did his actor profile, which is a new story I'm going to start writing for the blog a few times a week probably, or whenever I can't think of anything else to write. I'll throw an actor profile up there. Did you have a chance to look at that?
I did see it. I did not read it because I worked all day.
That's a solid reason. But yeah, it's basically a breakdown where I'm going to go through each actor's career, kind of talk about some highlights and just where I was introduced to them. I'm going to give what I think they should do next, their top 3 films performances, their worst 3 film performances, and a couple of recommendations. So
I like it.
Yeah, so keep your eye out for that on the website. But final thoughts on the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I'll see it. I bet you it's not going to suck.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be entertaining.
Yeah, so
as long as you go into it expecting something low.
Next up, we have the box office battle. A competition for bragging rights between friends who want nothing more than to prove they know more than the other guy. And who buys the first round of drinks this week, of course. How the game works is each week, my co-host and I will predict the top 5 films at the box office. Whoever gets the closest to the correct order wins the point for the week. The results for this week are as follows. In first place, we have Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice pulling in a solid $166.1 million. That is actually a March record. And over 420 million worldwide, which is well above estimates. In second place, we have, again, pulling in a solid $24 million with Zootopia, the Disney animated film. In third place, we have My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, pulling in a respectable $17.9 million. Followed up in fourth place by the religious film Miracles from Heaven, pulling in $9.7 million. And rounding out the top 5 was the Divergent series Allegiant, dropping off nearly $20 million from its opening weekend to earn $9.5 million. All right, James, taking all of those numbers into account, why don't you tell the fans who won the competition last week? Give us your thoughts on the numbers from this week, and give us your picks for this following weekend.
Dominic won again. 2 weeks in a row.
Booyakasha. Actually, it's not 2 weeks in a row. Didn't you win the week before? Yeah, because I screwed up with Miracles from Heaven.
All right. Dominic won last week.
On the plus side, though, 4-3, Jim's got a 1-point lead now, but I'm making a comeback.
Yes, you are.
So,
I would like to say that both of us got all 5 movies correct that were in the top 5.
Yeah, but Jim only got one in the right spot. You got 1 out of 5 in the right spot.
So I jumbled a little bit.
You would have failed kindergarten. You would have put the square peg in the round hole. Well, I didn't fail. My mom just said I was too special to go to first grade.
Man, your mom's nice. I wish my mom would have told me that.
Well, she did replace your dead birds.
That is a story for another time. This week, in retrospect, makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it went pretty much as we expected. We all knew that Batman vs Superman was going to come in number 1.
Oh, absolutely. And who knew Zootopia was going to get $24 million this week?
Yeah, I mean, only dropping off
in its 4th week.
Yeah, dropping off what was it, like
35?
Yeah, 35 to 24, only losing 11 million. Like, and it did, and now it's made really, like, it's over 300 million domestically, I'm pretty sure. So it's a great number for that movie.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah.
The freaking animated movies, man.
Mm-hmm.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding, a little disappointed.
But $18 million is a good number for that kind of film.
I agree.
Couldn't have cost more than $10 million to make.
Yeah, probably not. My mother and my grandma did actually go see the movie, and my mom told me that if you weren't Greek, you wouldn't get some of the jokes, and I think that's where that killed him.
Makes sense.
So I think that number's going to drop a lot.
You think so?
Yeah, this week. Miracles from Heaven, still killing it, and then Divergent, sucking terribly.
Yeah.
If you didn't, yeah, I can't. Bad week.
It really was.
I don't even know what to say.
Mm-hmm. Even worse, I can't remember if we talked about this last week or not, but the Lionsgate has already said that they are cutting the budget for the 4th film. And a week like this can't give them, like, as the first film was rumored around like $110 million. Thoughts were that they were going to drop that budget down to like $80 million. After a number like this, to where through 2 weeks, you are still under $40 million, they might go down to like 60 or something.
If they do that, where do they start making budget cuts? Please don't tell me CGI. Because this movie's got a lot of CGI. I mean, and if it turns to shit like London Has Fallen, it's going to be terrible.
Yeah, the biggest issue is it is the 4th film in a franchise. The first 2 were successful, so that means the actors have gotten pretty decent contracts by now.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah, so like Woodley's probably making close to $15 million for this movie.
I think Lauren's got 15 for her 3rd.
She got more than that, I think.
Or was it 20?
I think she ended up getting 20 by the end of it.
So by the 4th one,
she was getting 20.
Yeah,
but
she also won an Oscar in between that.
Yeah, and all of those movies were extremely successful.
That's true.
Yeah. Again, young adult movies. That 4th movie was the lowest grossing, I believe, out of all of them.
Probably.
Yeah.
People just get tired of them.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. There's not going to be another Harry Potter movie.
To even get to 4 is impressive, especially, but not for Divergent apparently, because they suck. For me personally, Batman vs Superman 166 is a good number, but not great. The worldwide number is amazing, almost $500 million in its opening weekend. So
that's its only saving grace.
It's not its only saving grace. $166 million is a good number. 5 years ago, that number was insane. It's just the fact that Star Wars and Jurassic World came out last year and set the world on fire, making over 200 million. That now, like, up until, what, 8 years ago, Spider-Man was still the number one highest grossing movie its opening weekend of all time at just over $100 million. So,
yeah, but the tickets are more expensive too.
Yeah, but 166 against, we'll say 400. That's a good number. You figure the real question is, with all these bad, and clearly bad reviews didn't hurt it that much. It probably cost it from getting another 10 million maybe at most. Real question is, how does next week go?
Big drop.
You think so?
Yeah.
You projecting over 56%? Higher or lower?
Yeah, higher.
You think so?
Yeah.
So we're looking at 83. You're looking at under 75 million.
I think everyone that's going to go see this movie already saw it.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, I rumors are it made 15 million on Monday, so we'll see. I hope it doesn't. I really don't. Not even because I love the movie. It's just I'm kind of a DC fanboy, and I need this to do well. It's gonna make $1 billion, which is all it really had to do. So that's good, but it's certainly gonna be interesting. Let's go on to our picks for next week.
At number 1, I've got Batman vs Superman, because obviously it's gonna make a lot of money still. Still got Zootopia at 2. I don't think it's going anywhere. I'm an idiot for not picking it last week. Then I think My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
You think it holds on to that number 3 spot?
Yeah, just because I don't see any of these other next couple movies doing anything that much, anything big. And then God's Not Dead, and then Miracles from Heaven. I think they'll hang around.
It's a solid list. I have a slightly similar one. My first 2 are the same. I've got Batman vs Superman number 1. I'm going to project just under 100 million. I think I'm going to go like 92 million, which is just under 50% drop off. Fingers crossed. Number 2, I have Zootopia. Probably going to pull in another like 16 to 17 million, just because there's not a whole lot else out for kids. And third, I have God's Not Dead 2. In over 2,000 theaters, it's premiering. Religious films have been doing well over the past few months, actually. And there's nothing really else to challenge it. I have My Big Fat Greek Wedding dropping down to number 4. So, if my projection works out, that one will be probably around $9 million, and God's Not Dead 2 will earn in like 12. It's going to be tough for God's Not Dead 2 to get 12, though. And in my 5th spot, I am going with Allegiant. I have zero faith in this film, but my thought process is 2 faith-based movies in the top 5 is going to be tough.
That's true.
I think they'll pull away from each other.
It is a gamble, and I think me being Greek has hurt me.
It certainly has a little bit.
It did last week. It's going to again this week.
It might help you this week, though.
I don't know. I'm not feeling it.
You get a 30% drop off at 18 million, though. You're looking right around 12. It's going to be tough for these other movies to get 12 million.
True.
And so it'll be interesting going forward. Well, that was our show today. You've heard our thoughts on Batman vs. Superman, among other things. I want to thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please like this episode and subscribe to the I've Had Better Podcast Network. Also, follow us on Twitter at IHB Podcast, and on Facebook, go like the I've Had Better Podcast page. James, tell the people where to find you.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at _Kaiser_Soze, or on Facebook as Jimmy Langos. And don't forget to check out the website at www.ihbpodcast.com.
And I am Dominic Demore. You can follow me on Twitter at Dom Demore. That's DOMDEMORE. Or on Facebook at Dominic Demore. How was your show this week, James?
I've had better.
Good night, everybody.